where we're a country where 70% of the adults are now overweight or obese, when it was less than 5%. You got to let the camera.
I'm recording you.
Yeah, 5% just 50, 60 years ago. Now our life expectancy is greater because of technology, opportunities, knowledge, and caloric intake, and people aren't overworked. That's good. But the problem is there's not a balance anymore of what keeps us going, propels us, keeps us lean, strong. You look at really smart, educated, on it people who are passionate what they do in life, they all live in their 90s, 100.
Of course.
Their health span is very long, not just their longevity in terms of their heart beating, but the actual productivity and the living of life. So the true lifespan is extended incredibly, by almost double what it was, say, 100 years ago. From you get 30, 40 good adult years, now you can get 60, 70 of past 18 of real health span, productivity, living life the way you want to, not just being a liability to yourself, your family, and society. So how do we get there? Proper nutrition and investing in people's health. And rather than disease. Unfortunately, our healthcare system is set up to treat disease, profit from it as if there's a need. These are manufactured needs, just like in government being paid.
Exactly.
So you got a class of people that are all about just getting paid. That's the focus, not really doing good for themselves, their society, and their family, and living life to the fullest. What we call, basic self-actualization. And so to achieve self-actualization, we have to start with fundamental knowledge for everybody. So what government could do on a mass scale is really educate people how to become healthy and work with other agencies to do that, and not just basic stuff, but real cutting-edge knowledge. The problem there, of course, is you got lobbyists, you got interest, economic, political, and otherwise, who don't want that to happen.
Yep.
Okay, because it's against their monetary interests. And I'm not sounding so conspiracy, these are facts. And they're vested. I can understand that. You got a big investment in drugs and research and billions and so forth, but that's basically to treat symptoms, not cure the disease. And so the people need to come together and demand this, not just through their vote, but through their voice and their pocketbook, all in one. That's what I propose. That's step one. If we can do that and get people from being fat, lazy, slow, and stupid to smart, efficient, productive, caring, and loving, and actually living their life with passion, then we have the foundation, the foundational principles in which I'm going to apply here. And they are threefold on a very basic level. One is financial, how we finance ourselves, our country, and make ourselves competitive, not only for ourselves and survival and success, but our standing in the world. Survival, success, and standing. That's really important, because when that's going well in America and we're an example for the other countries, everybody wins, including our more immediate adversaries, China, Russia, Iran, those other people. They will start to see the truth. The people of China
rise up their game. Yep.
The people of Iran already see that. They want to rise up now. What bravery! I got to hand it to you. Talk about the women that are so brave, protesting against that. That takes. They got more bravery than I do. Some of those women in Iran, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed with some of the people in the Middle East who really want to come together and really to fight for what they see is free.
Yep.
And so the scary part of what the paradox is, the liberation of the internet, when people can see the freedom and their expectation sets of individual liberty, that taste is so infectious, it scared the people who have control, because again, they're getting back to survivalism. They're stuck on survivalism, not the success that there's others. That takes a certain risk, a component to really reach out and actually take a chance. Okay, but you got people that are controlled, that were in academia, that got too much positive reinforcement that was unfounded, and so they got comfortable and don't want to take a risk. They expect things to happen. They expect the entitlement. They expect a steady paycheck, direct deposit. They're entitled to it. They don't want to take risks. They don't, in terms of thought, business, or otherwise, or family, or have a kid. Oh, that's too much. Oh, no. The focus is always on themselves and their own, comfort zone of survivability. So we have to change that paradigm. And through finance, if we can make sure people are secure in their working life and are motivated and incentivized to work, that even if they don't make that much money, they will have almost a guaranteed nice retirement. That Social Security is going to be changed so it's reinvesting in America. You can see your growth path. You can see your investment. You don't have to roll in 401k and get tricked by some financier or this or that. With great certainty that you're going to get a return. Look, The average S&P in return, the 500, right? The equity index is 7% per annum. That means it doubles every 10 years.
Right.
You know how long ago that was that?
Since the 40s?
1871.
Oh.
Okay, I'll take that 7% return.
Oh, that would be
from
massive.
equities or in America over the government guarantee, which is 0% return, and they may pay you back or may not, and they have a right to be confiscatory with your assets without your consent.
Confiscatory.
I like the other way better. So when someone tells you, oh no, don't mess with security, no, they're saying don't mess with our lock on you, what we do, and how we dictate terms of your lifetime, your golden years, your retirement, and you're under us. And without your consent, and you're too stupid anyway, so just do what we say and shut the fuck up.
Right.
That's what they're about. Now, the people need to get educated, come under this wing, the meritocracy wing, the Tuscaloosa Jim wing, the Michael Bloom wing, the abundance conscious wing, the Pole Brother wing, whatever you want to call it. Is this recording?
Yes.
I'm really ready to actually expand upon that. And so finance, so the average bloke, say making only 60 grand a year, will retire with $2 to $3 million in their pocketbook at the end of 40 years. With
Properly
a 7%
invested.
return.
Yep.
And we don't change a dime. Social Security, the system's the same. It just grows. It's just wealthier and it's less dependent on government. What it
Better
isn't
managed.
anymore, what it isn't anymore is a piggy bank for them to do all the reckless spending, which is way out of kilter. As I mentioned before, we're at 125% of GDP, the debt now. 32 trillion, okay, on $23 trillion and a 24 trillion economy. Okay,
It's ridiculous.
Hey kids.
It's ridiculous amount of money.
No. It was 50% back in 2000 for 9/11. So they've used catastrophe after catastrophe to leverage more need when the quality of the service has been less.
Right.
So, we're underwater. We're back into a 1980s situation of the Eastern Europeans where you got people gaming the system, looking for what they can get, entitled, and do the least amount of work. That's what they're about.
Yep.
And so what we need to do is change the way things are financed and also accountability. I propose that the government be held to the same standards as private companies. Why should they be? They're servants to us rather than the other way around.
That's what it's supposed to be.
And they have to be accountable what they spend, what they do, and that, what we have is a political elite, if you want to call it, that's based in private sector people who work part-time at the legislature and the executive, but they're not careerists and they have a certain term limits and they got to go back to private enterprise. So it's not a lifelong thing.
Of course.
It's like you see in the military, people that want to serve, they get a chance to serve. And so this will weed out careerists who just want a good gig or full of self-aggrandizement and that sort of thing, and actually work for the people.
Yep.
And you look at states in America where you don't have deficits like the $32 billion one here in California, like Nebraska and Iowa. They're always they're never insolvent. Right. They're always solvent.
Always solvent.
And they have part-time people that make $5,000 a year. They go down to the capital, take care of the business. They go back into their enterprise. It's not a problem. They handle their own problems, and they never make the news. So they get on to living their life. They actually still live the American way. And that's really, really exciting for me to see still in certain states in our republic.
But not out here in Hollywood.
No. You don't have that. That's correct. So that's true.
You remind us about the 4 Ps. Come on.
The 4 Ps?
Yeah.
I think you mean the 5 Ps.
Oh shit, 5 Ps.
Well, that's okay. Well, also, okay, this is getting back to the spiritual plane where people can treat each other with respect, candidacy, and actually can speak to each other as people. And you still see that throughout all of America. But what men need to really do and take the lead and become men is to really, set the example for other young men and women together that they actually were willing to please, pamper, provide, and protect. Be pleasing, be humorous, incite, engage. These are important things for anybody to really, in any relationship, but certainly within the dynamic between men and women. And then, of course, pamper the people with woes, show caring. And we need that on a mass scale. We need to show that with people who have different opinions or maybe at a loss or something like that. Show caring and that, we're okay to have differences. What it's not okay is to have disrespect just because you have differences. And this brings strength and this brings bonds and relationships that may never have occurred, that may be the best relationships possible. That used to be the case. People with differences, they would really get turned on each other because they were going to expound and really expand each other's mind and bind their energy better than before. But today, there's forces that want to divide that possibility. And you see that based on political lines and so forth because people want control and they don't want to be found out for what they are. Inadequate servants that are out to serve themselves, not the public. And this is a big problem, the wholesale. And most Americans that are polled would agree with that. So you got to be able to pamper people so they can become the great, and they'll do the same in a reciprocal way. And it's just a good human thing to do. Our DNA is programmed to do that. Then of course you got to be able to provide everything you can to those that matter. Substance and material, actual giving really do matter. Okay, it's not just words; it's what you do and what you deliver on an accountable basis that counts. Okay, we can all agree on that, but it's got to go both ways. Too many times today, it's all about what I can get from the other side. What's good for me? I don't think about how can I be the best for that other person. When you do that, when you're down in the dumps, when you do everything you can for someone else, even in your most vulnerable, weakest position, it's an amazing fact that I have found that when I'm at the worst possibility, I try to do something of great care and giving to somebody else without any expectation, anything in return, even though I'm really going through some serious pain. And then the pain subsides and good things happen.
Because you're being of service.
You're being of service, and and ultimately you're being of service yourself. It's almost analogous to when you forgive for something you did.
Yeah, acceptance.
What you're really doing is you're helping that person out, but what you're really doing is releasing yourself much more. And that's the same thing when you provide. You're actually providing for yourself a sustenance, a sense of giving. That doesn't mean being taking care of the woods. You've got to make sure people appreciate that. Don't just be giving your life away. I've squandered many years away from just giving where it wasn't really reciprocated. So you got to use judgment. But I think if other people do that too, and it happens on all sides, and we create a society about that, then we can't get enough. We'll be back to the interdependent state where greatness can be achieved in all fronts. And that's what we want.
An affirmation for positive energy.
And so this leads, again, to the foundation. You got a financial foundation, you got a spiritual relationship foundation, the way business is conducted. This is called good business versus bad business, for mutual gain rather than self-gain, okay? And it's not touchy-feely stuff because, self-interest is important. If you have self-interest in mind, then you can be of use to others too. But you have to think about how it all really works. You're not going to get anywhere in any project you do unless you really build the best out of your team, your other people, the transactions.
Collaboration.
Any deal, any way of advancing requires at least 2 or 3 or more parties to do
consortium.
Rather than just thinking yourself. So you think of the other side, you beyond playing one-dimensional chess to three-dimensional chess. One-dimensional checkers, three-dimensional chess, excuse me. And so that's where we have to go. Now, the third one is really to create courage and confidence in our young men. And this is an important fact that we're lacking. And this will lead to greater judgment so we can make better policy decisions, get behind and be discerning about what we do in our actions and how we organize our behaviors, our companies, our organizations, our foreign domestic policy on a domestic and international stage. So once again, we can lead the stage. And that means really going back to a meritocracy. If you got a public that's educated, invested in their health, feels good about the finance, you got healthy, accountable systems where everybody's accountable, and we don't play political games with the media and big tech to control everybody and treat everybody like cattle like Mr. Gates and other people do. They don't really think you're human. They don't think you can think for yourself. Even unfortunately, Barack Obama, what a great speaker, an incredible guy, but he says it was time to give up the individual sovereign. So I don't know if they believe that or they've given up on the individual. I have not. And I believe that only through the power of the individual liberty within the Union, which these most brilliant people put together, 247 years ago, back in August 2nd, the real signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776.
My man was there.
That is the time we have to re-educate. I think educating the kids will be very good, but so we have to really kind of get back to educating people on principles and so forth, so we can get back to the individual sovereign, and so they're not afraid to speak up. We were in the 80s, we could go up into a bin of people with different agreements, but with knowing that with confidence, with the facts, you could do well and you'd be treated fairly. Even with people who were on the other side, they'd still fight for your right to speak. So we can advance the discussion.
So everyone is heard.
Yeah, it's the basic Socratic method, still intact after all these years, after centuries, millennia, right?
Right.
But that is under threat now. The groupthink, the limbic gland control, the Orwellian nightmare has arrived. He's 39 years off from today's date, but he's not that far off, And so, I don't want to just be a Winston out here. I want to actually be somebody of substance. And I want every kid from every walk of life to have a fair shot. But it's not an equal outcome society. It's equal opportunity. Protection under the law, and obey the laws, and and work with the system, And so you don't just have other people cut in line and subvert other people who've been working.
Yeah, they feel cheated.
They feel cheated. American public now feels cheated. You got all these people coming in and getting all these special rights for votes when they don't feel like they're being cheated. They don't feel like they're being taken care of. And now we got this identity politic problem. It's about payback, reparations and stuff. It's always what can I get rather than earning it in a fair way. And if you look at in terms of happiness, contentment as an individual, there's no question that people that earn the same amount that versus those that are given are infinitely more content, happy, productive, and move on to do other great things.
Define woke in 3 sentences.
Yeah.
Or less.
Yep. Woke?
Yeah, define it in a couple sentences only.
I would say woke is that's a great question. There's a lot of interpretations about this and that, but what I would say is it uses a false pretense of fealty to get what one wants and use certain means and distortions of the way the real world works to get a certain result, and a favoring of certain people over others in order to achieve one's means in terms of a political or societal outcome.
Like an illusion?
They will use illusions, misstatement of facts and statistics, distortion of facts to basically achieve whatever means possible. The ends justify the means in terms of social re-engineering to put certain groups ahead of other groups based on alleged past sins of people that have nothing to do with who are living today. It's a grievance society-based system of creating a utopia that turns into, quickly, as we've seen now, a dystopia, where all people have a quality of life and a standard of living that's less because it's based on payback. It's more of a negative-sum game among people, groups, identity politics, favoring one over another, not based on merit, not based on anything else, but a dictate of what the future should be in terms of who you are, in terms of your race, skin color, gender, political ideology, and so forth. And it's also an elitist mantra that basically is enforced by certain parties that if you don't agree, you're going to be you're going to be punished. Wokeism is something I would say that Stalin used in the 30s in the Great Purge, in 1937, when 800,000 prisoners were taken out. If you don't agree, you're out.
Right,
and,
it's
you
white
see
or
that
black.
now with what there's in Trump. They don't care if they say they represent black people, but if you're a black person, you don't have a different political ideology, and your law-abiding system doesn't matter. You're evil.
Yeah, you're already judged.
And then of course they will support Muslim groups in no end, even though that they beat and torture gays, or what they say they're perfectly right. So you have wokeism is a series of duplicit messaging that was to achieve one goal that we can see of, and that's political power for a certain group of people, regardless of how their inconsistencies, discrepancies, hypocrisies, and basic indifference between the truth and what's good for people and what's bad. And I think that's a real problem where we don't. So it basically creates an artificial platform which slants any kind of real debate to get to any kernel of truth, and also stunts any kind of real debate beyond just the first few lines, which you are judged and sentenced based on what your alleged symbol is behind your political
your initial opinion or initial
or even what you declare yourself as. I think there was a poll that
how you identify.
60-70% of Democrats would like to see all people that voted for Donald Trump in prison. They all think this guilt by association. So you lose tactics, which you saw in Stalin, that anybody who disagreed with Stalin would automatically pin that they're all mad dogs. The people, the Trotskyites.
They go to the
the Trotskyites and so forth. You go to the Stalag if you don't agree. So what you have now is a young group of people that are active on campus and showing the way have done a full reversal from the 60s, which demanded free press, free discussion, anti-establishment. Now you got pro-establishment. Anybody that's not pro-establishment doesn't go along the party line is now rendered, a fascist or something that is just ridiculous. But by people don't even really know what the term means. So
right, and it's blown out of proportion.
It's completely blown out of proportion, not based on any facts. It doesn't matter what the evidence is, the facts. It just matters if you don't go along. And this is based on people's fear, which runs the whole thing.
Right, fear and
if you don't go along, this is what will happen to you.
The limbic
just
response.
Go along, keep the party line. You will be okay. You'll get promoted. It's all, and we'll pay off. And this is what happened in Rome. This is what happened. This is how the Soviet Union did things and kept the Eastern European bloc going for 46 years. after World War II until it all fell apart in 1991.
Socratic system. No.
Yeah, and so so you got a form of a despotism that is not going to stop unless the people rise up, and they'll rise up once they know it's worth it to them, that they're not going to get free stuff, that it's a much better thing. And this is what I propose to kind of glue this together, is a system where now, and this would be very exciting for working people to motivate, we're going to take the best of what Europe does, because it doesn't burn out its people. Through my experience, my travels, and living over there and working there and here, being an entrepreneur and kind of seeing things from a 38,000
social democracy,
view,
yeah.
both on land and in the air. Because traveling there, 60 some times the last 10 years, is that we need to instill a stronger vacation support network for workers. Not increase in pay, but like less burned out. What we haven't evolved here in America is that we're still stuck on this 2-week vacation. The way the model works, and granted, it's good that we work hard, but what happened?
We're like
now,
slave drivers.
People are burned out. It raises the angst, and with all the other things going on, people are looking for a way to just relax. Their brains, their psyche, their chakra alignment's all out of whack because they don't really get to engage and really expand and slow down and relax and explore the best parts of the world that's paid by the company.
They're always chasing that paycheck.
And what happens is, if you can, like, say, maybe take off 10%, 12% of your time rather than just 2% you get now, or if that, 3-4%, you'll be less burned out. And I will tell you this will lead to greater productivity.
More productivity, yep.
Less presenteeism. Look that up if you don't know that.
Presenteeism?
Absenteeism.
Absenteeism, yes.
Presenteeism is that you won't do the job you're supposed to do because it's too hazardous, you don't want to mess with it. Absenteeism. And what the big cost is, and the big upside is far less turnover of good employees. Because we used to have people that work 20, 30 years, right? You get less employees, so it's more stable, you don't have to rehire. It's worth it, and you get a more productive employee. So it's a win for the business, it's a win for the people, and spiritually, I think it leads to people to really enjoy life so they can sit back and plan out their future. And this is really, really, really important, that people can plan and see what's going on, so there's less stability, there's much more time engaged with their family and doing lifetime journeys with their family and really rebuild that unit. In America, I think part of the family loss is because of the policies done by the government, certainly, but also because we don't have this thing where, like in Europe, you have people, middle, low class, enjoy everything with everybody, and it's really, it's quite amazing, what they have. On the other hand, they can gain from us, and we should really instill a sense of entrepreneurship and really help companies. Is this being recorded?
Yes.
Yeah, help companies do a better job of exiting into selling their companies. One thing you'll never hear about in the business community that much, or certainly not in government, is we have hundreds of thousands of companies slated to be sold every year. Small businesses, of the millions of small business owners, and these businesses just sort of disappear when they could have actually been sold for a good amount of money to a bigger company who could take what was built and expand on it. And this is a great possibility for millions, tens of millions of people will be much better off, so they become more of a wealth society based on what they built, right?
Yep.
And it would be good for these companies that buy them, which is going to expand and create more jobs and really honor the market system where the best companies and ideas and possibilities go forward for everyone in our markets. All the attributes are run. But what's really great is the economy would take off like you wouldn't believe. This is doubling down on the best of what capitalism is. Rather than these same companies have to reinvest and do all these things to start the company up, they've already got everything going. The car's already running. Right. Don't you want to work with a train that's already built, that's moving, rather than have to rebuild a whole new train?
You don't want to invent the train.
Yeah, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And of course, you can embellish or expand and improve upon that business too. That's why you're buying it. So this would be an absolute huge way we could actually improve our American economy.
Right, win-win.
At the same time, really lock down on protecting intellectual property, which China is stealing at a clip of $400 billion per year. I mean, the last 10, 20 years, they've ripped us off, in an enormous amount. It's almost equal to our defense budget is what they steal from us technology, and that's why they've been able to rebuild their military at such a huge clip, which will overtake ours. It already has in terms of the Navy ships.
Right, it's hard to monetize that.
And I mean, overall, our operational capabilities are greater, but it's hard to monetize that. But I mean, we've been so generous, but to the point where we're not discerning, and we got to grow up. Their culture, 6,000 years of incredible cultural DNA that led to advanced ways of deception.
Yeah.
In the 17th century, for instance, they won wars and stuff internally and externally by poison. They're doing that now through the fentanyl crisis when they supply the chemicals to the cartel that ship them up here. We're losing 300 people a day, 100,000 per year.
Yeah.
What's with that? No, and I don't see much improvement. Now, maybe, with this Title 42 being relapsed, they're putting on a facade like they're getting tougher. No. Until we see the data really come in, and it was much better under Trump. I'm sorry, people, it's true. We didn't have all these crises. So, they say they're going to do something, but they never the border. What's with this Kamala Harris's borders are? She was never there. She didn't do anything. I think they want votes. I think they want the slip in and make sure that the calculus of their political control is the paramount importance, and it stays that way regardless of what happens to the people. That's what I see. I'm sadly, hate to say, and report. I wish I could say something differently, but we only speak the truth here. And we also, because only through speaking the truth and learning the truth can we ever get to any solutions that are going to matter or anything. So basically, we create a system where people can discern what's good for them and they have a voice. And wouldn't it be great if you were voting and you had an opportunity to influence policy, not just by the vote of
directly
getting people, but it really influence policy for both elected and unelected officials.
Right, the other ones,
which you're also paying for.
Yep.
They work for you too. It's not just the look, and so the people have a more populist direct say, and the tools are there. And I think that's why you've seen a clamoring of the left kind of galvanize power, so they want to squelch out the individual voice, because right now the individual voice has more tools and power than ever. Look at the entertainment industry. Individuals, we may not think the music is as good as it was in the 70s, but the artist sure has a lot more control over their power, what happens to them and the direction of the careers, rather than being ripped off by agents and so forth, all the way from Elvis down, right?
Yeah, there's more rights. Yeah,
there's more rights.
Music rights.
So they're scared about that, so they want to stifle that to keep control. The big thing is, with this way of financing government, we could probably reduce the government by half. Let the private sector handle much more of the healthcare. Let people make their decisions, build individual sovereignty, hold them accountable. We can cut out all the largesse, both on a local,
you have to
state,
have some kind
and,
of stop
and
loss.
federal level, and have a plan that's going to be worked on that people insist. And
it has to be regulated because there's greed.
Yeah, and the only way we're going to get this done is to get people to come together and realize the truth and vote this thing out before it's too late. And that's why they're creating all these artificial means for people with the strong, independent voices for the people. They don't want that. And that's what Donald Trump represented. And so they went off on him. Everything else, I mean, the guy just got lost a civil suit. He's paid $5 million. It wasn't charged rape of someone he probably never even met. I mean, this is how bad it's getting. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Right,
Again, the ends justify the means, especially when it's your job on the line. And the people are sheeple, not real people. This has got to change. You're a person. You're people of respect. And I think culturally we have to win that war, and through media, entertainment, and so forth, and fight the fight and make the, because basically all these people that hold the levers in this meritocracy, if they see the tide swing this way, they will jump ship onto the stronger horse, the better argument, if it means better.
Right, if it makes sense.
And the thing is, in the long run, you're better off with this program. Everybody is. A higher standard of living, better payouts, better returns. What they're doing now is penny wise, pound foolish. It's a short-term sugar high that's running out of lies that can be sold because they keep getting bigger. Why more bigger?
Bigger light bulbs.
They get larger and harder to conceal and harder to cover up. So this is where we are, and I propose in a meritocracy that these things, the personal health, the financial freedom, and the ability to be educated and discern and be part of the policies will lead to a meritocracy that ultimately our founding fathers wanted us to have.
before the internet,
for
before
the
electricity,
people, of the people.
Yep.
Or not necessarily in that order, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
All three work together. That's the trilateral commission of the people. And so now it's a government for the government, using the people.
Three branches of government for themselves.
And not for the people, but for the political elite. And so I think it's fantastic timing for us to have these tools. And it's ironic that the people that created these tools of freedom are the ones that really use them to hold on to power, because I think they're afraid. It's almost like, what would happen if all the electrical power you didn't have to pay for anymore? You'd have to pay for transportation, that emancipation. There's a lot of people that are vested in the industry, energy industries, that are going to lose out all their things. So they got to maintain something. And I can understand part of that. I understand the return. But if anything, I think the more you're of the light, the more you're going to love everything. And I think people who really will come together on this abundance platform, True TV, become radical centrists, go down the center.
Right.
I'm in the center because I can expand my arms on both sides of the spectrum, bring
Right.
everybody in and bring everybody's ideas together and put the best ideas. Nobody's out. Isn't it a lot more fun when you're at a party where there are a lot of
Everyone's
people
getting
listening
along,
to you,
yeah.
you're listening to them, everybody's getting down, as opposed to going to a little party where there's a couple people that you always say the same thing to each other.
And everyone's out back
And
smoking
everybody's got
cigarettes.
you always drink the same drink every time. Don't
That's
you want to
boring.
explore different drinks, different variety, different
boring.
people?
Yeah.
It's boring. Or go to, you want to go to the same concert every time, same blues bar, same
No.
jazz bar? No, man, you want to explore. Well, this is an opportunity for people to explore the wealth of ideas. We have so much in here. One brother was telling me, where the biggest source of of unused information is in America? Unfortunately, it's in cemeteries.
Yeah.
all these unfinished ideas and dreams of
And
all
all
the
those
people you're looking
houses
out
of
there.
stuff that they left.
Yeah, a great brother of mine back in New York was telling me about this stuff, and it was very interesting. I thought, you know what? I don't want to be one of these unused ideas, don't you? And I think that's the biggest tragedy. All this untapped potential. All because we're going to give it up to somebody like a Nancy Pelosi or something who can't keep her marbles straight. All these
Right.
people's illusions of grandeur.
Yeah, professional lawyers.
And professional lawyers, all these people that have never really come up with. Hey man, I love you people, but you know what? I can't think of one great idea you've come up with. I challenge anybody in this little session to come up with as many good ideas as I've come up with right here. And this is all top of my head. I'm just an American citizen who's engaged, and I think I have a chance, and maybe I was born a little bit to do something in this space, as was my uncle, who was the youngest state senator ever in Iowa back in the 60s. But he went off on the edge on alcohol. I've had my issues in terms of having too much fun, living the life. But now I'm at the age where I'm going to give what I can, and I think that's what this republic was designed to do.
Well,
when you're ready, you do your service, and now I'm ready. So
All right.
I'm ready. Are you ready? Let's do it.
Tuscaloosa Jim.
That's right.